Feeling of being watched in infrasound theory. Hi everybody. I am happy to have found D-Sub as I am very interested in expedition/hiking stories, especially after reading about the Dyatlov Pass incident and the Korovina tragedy. I asked my husband if he has ever felt like being watched when he was out in the woods when he was in the army. He did tons of land navigations and many of them at night. He said that it was a very common experience in which he felt as a prey. Reading about the tragedies I mentioned though, it seems that these sort feelings can be triggered by infrasounds. Of course, the entity of the fateful circumstances in which these sad incidents occurred are not comparable to my husband's, luckily, but has anyone experienced these feelings directly? Final meeting of the Widow Club. As they agreed 50 years ago, the three elderly friends of the Widow Club met for the final time at a small cafe on the coast. "Alright, ladies," Mabel said, "it's time to tally up the score to see who won. Who wants to go first?" She looked across the table at Edna and Ida. "This was your idea," Edna replied. "I think you should have to go first." "Fine," Mabel said. She reached into her purse and retrieved 2 wedding bands which she set on the table. "Only 2, Ida scoffed as she dropped 3 wedding bands on the table. "Slacker," she joked. Edna, always the show-off, dropped 4 rings onto the table, one at a time. "4 husbands?" Mabel scoffed. "2 was too much for me." Edna smiled. "It would have been 5 but Ed died of natural causes before I could *LL him." Found a recording of me sleeping 2 days ago. I was bored and scrolling through my camera roll when I found a 26-minute video took on September 13th, 2:26 a.m. I slept at 10 p.m. that day and woke up at 5, and I really don't ever snore yet in the video from the start till near the end. It's just me, I presume, snoring, but what creeped me out the most is at the exact end of the video a sound of something moving is heard. Can anyone tell me what this might mean? I'm terrified. I live with my family but sleep in a different room than them, and they were all asleep that day. And we have no signs of break-ins. Could it be my phone is hacked? Has anyone ever helped the black-eyed people? I've recently started getting into the black-eyed people phenomenon, which I find as fascinating as it is disturbing, and there are so many questions. Who or what are they? Are they / have they ever been human? Why do they move in small groups? Why do they at times appear blurry? However, what is mainly piquing my curiosity right now is that each account I've read about or heard of comes from someone escaping them, someone feeling that typical dread and refusing them entry or help. And from the stories, it really seems that, without explicit consent, these beings are powerless. So my question, as you might have guessed, is have you ever come across any cases where these creatures were let in, or helped? And what happened? Head, shoulders, knees, toes. I sing the verse for the kindergartners, again and again and again, carefully tapping each body part. It's frustrating. They're not getting it. Teaching used to be so simple. The kids used to catch on so fast. Now they're all so fragile, screaming and crying in a split second. They're coddled. Unprepared for the world. I try one more time. Head, shoulders, knees, and toes. Resting my hand on each one for as long as it takes for them to understand. Nothing. They just keep on bawling. Fine then. I give up. Maybe the song is outdated. Or maybe I need to update my demonstration. It has been a while since I've mixed things up. Everything rotted so fast. I return to my desk, making a note to myself to find fresher samples, before putting each body part back in its respective drawer. Help me find a specific story. Hey Reddit, I read a really creepy story. It might have been on this sub or another. The post was about a hunter who went into the woods at night by himself. I believe he went over to set up a trap or something and then moved about a mile away. It was late at night and he ended up pulling up his scope and saw a very pale man that he saw crouching where he was setting up before. The pale thing stood up and its voice was that of a woman who sounded like she was in distress or wounded and needed help. That's about all the details I had. I read it briefly. If this story rings a bell, maybe you can help me find it. It was such an unnerving story and well worth a read. I had a revelation about the Come Here Brooke robot voice video that was posted here a few weeks ago, and it's even scarier. Sorry for the BuzzFeed title, not trying to intentionally sound clickbaity. As many of you remember, a girl named Brooke posted a video where she claims to have heard a robotic voice saying what sounds like "Come here Brooke" from out in the forest backyard of her parents' house. I would try to find it and post the link, but I'm on mobile and not sure how to properly do that. But anyway, this morning I randomly thought about that video as I was waking up, and the thought crossed my mind that it wasn't saying "come here Brooke" like everyone seemed to hear. It may very well have actually been saying "coming, Brooke." Is it possible that this seemingly robotic entity is actually working out the mechanics of this dimension to fully cross into it and find Brooke? Pretty freaky if you ask me. I just witnessed poltergeist activity. I work at a restaurant and we just experienced poltergeist activity. We made a bagel, put it in a bag, and as soon as the order was up, one of the girls saw the bagel fly out of the bag onto the ground. I already know who the spirit is. We had a homeless guy hang out here for years. He died a couple of years ago during a very bad ice storm. I still occasionally sense his smell. His smell is something you don't forget. With him being homeless, no shower, and he legit had a force field, he used to chill in the men's bathroom, and I will occasionally smell his smell. It's something you don't forget. Hoping to roll back the cameras later to see if it caught it. I saw a pale man behind me when I had 16 years old. I was in my friend's house watching a movie, and after I come back to my house, walking on the street normally. Was 1:30 a.m. when I arrival in my house. I gone to my room and go front the mirror. I didn't turn on the light in this moment, I used my phone's flashlight. So in this exactly moment I saw a pale man behind me, with straight black hair, looking at me, for 3 to 5 seconds, and I could felt my skin creeps like never before in my whole life. I was so scarred with this, I couldn't sleep well in this night. I had overthinking in this thing for few years, but couldn't found something about it. I don't, what is it? I saw something on the side of the road while riding in my dad's car tonight. I saw something on the side of the road while riding in my dad's car tonight. I'm not sure what I saw to be exact. It definitely wasn't another person. I know that much about it. It was raining tonight and we were on the back roads near a small ditch, with a guardrail in between the road and the ditch. I typically look out the window while riding in shotgun. This thing probably was about 6 feet from the car, semi-crouching in the ditch trying to hide from the high beams of the car. I happened to catch a glimpse of it, unfortunately. It was a pale white. It had long arms and a crooked back. It had a oddly shaped head. The shoulders on this thing were built. I'm not sure what I saw, and I know I don't want to see it again. I was chased by a man today, me, 12M, live in a small town in Canada which has no big history of crime. While I was riding my bike after eating dinner as usual, everything goes well for about an hour. I was on my way back to my house. Suddenly a man, which was probably around 17 to 16, who didn't have any weapon and wearing a blue shirt and had a beard, comes out of a random bush in the house next to me and starts chasing me for 30 seconds, but where I was going there was a big road that went down and I just went as fast as I could to my house. He didn't chase me all the way to my house. I have never met that man, and where I was a family neighborhood. I looked Facebook accounts from the city and I could find nothing. I think he wanted to steal my bike, but I am not sure. I went to Auschwitz recently, and I expected it to be chilling and to unsettle me. However, I wasn't prepared for going. Walking around the site was unsettling, but nothing too extreme. However, when we visited the gas chambers, I felt like someone was standing right behind my shoulder, just staring at the scratch marks on the walls with me and in complete grief. After that, while walking between the barbed wire fences, I had the awful feeling of being trapped and herded down the pathway. I then went on to have dreams for about a week about standing and staring up at the fences, just waiting. Not nightmares, but definitely strange. Like I was just waiting for the end, just looking at the sky, waiting to be free. It'll help you draw what you saw. Hello, everyone. I'm not the greatest artist in the world, but I have a pretty decent grasp of perspective/composition and figure drawing. You're more than welcome to check out my post history to see my artwork. I would love to help all of you put your sighting onto paper. I don't do color, unfortunately, I just do ink, so sorry in advance, sad face. Feel free to message me directly, or mention me in a comment. I don't know if I would get notified if you mentioned me, but it's worth a try. I would say a message would be a safer bet, as I reply almost immediately usually. So just send me a description, height/body type, etc. Or just let me know your encounter is posted and I'll read it and draw what I got from the story. I hope I can help you articulate what you saw. Best wishes, everyone. In class with a murderer. When I was a junior in high school, I had a classmate who was just a little off. One Friday during a big test, he slept through the entire class period. refusing to do any work. He always acted up in class, but that was different even for him. I figured to myself that he must have been going through something and thought nothing else of it. That was until Friday night when I see on social media that he was arrested after school for breaking into an old lady's house, torturing and immersing her with a butcher knife. This happened Thursday night. I was in a tiny classroom with someone who brutally immersed someone less than 12 hours before that. Still gives me chills to this day when I think of it. Innocence lost, I can hardly contain myself. It's that most wonderful time of the year. Not the time of gifts and family, but the one of unmonitored fear. Please only take one, a message wrote loud and clear. It won't be the same as before, I'll be watching, daring them to try once more. With a grin of glee stretched ear to ear, I could hardly wait for the first to appear. Some requited the message, following the rules to the T. Most were quite guilty, the epitome of greed. All were deemed equal, I had given this much thought. Tonight, even innocence would be at a total loss. This Halloween will have a whole new plot. Repentance would come later, for now let them have their fun. What had already started could not simply be undone. The clear victor would be rat poison number 1.